Hello?
Yeah.
I think we're live.
Let's see. It looks
I think we're
like
doing it
we are
live.
live.
We have 5 viewers. Hello, viewers. Thomas has found you. Yeah, we found you guys. We're here. Let's
We had some technical difficulties getting started on YouTube for the
switch
first
it on
time,
over. Yeah.
but glad you guys are here. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing on this fine Wednesday evening? Let's get it. Let's roll. Let's get it going. I'm pouring a glass. I already had one while the technical difficulties were going on. Going on in number two. Going on number two.
Sorry, guys. How long did that take us? Good 14 minutes? Sorry. It happens. Let's see. All right, we'll give it a few more seconds to people to come on in. Welcome, welcome. I wonder if anyone will be on Twitch and be like, where did they go?
Yeah, make sure you tell your family, tell your friends. We're no longer on Twitch. We're on YouTube now.
Tell your grandma, tell your neighbor, tell your other grandma, tell everybody.
Is Kyle Yami? No, Yami is Yami.
Yummy is yummy. All right, well, what are we drinking tonight, Huddy? What are we
I
stirring
uh
up?
I went to the Tuscan region of the world in Italy. This is a place that I went to while in Europe this summer. Uh, just thought I'd bring it back. It's kind of how we started Wine Wednesday. If you guys don't know, I think we started, at least the idea kind of happened a year ago when I got back from France, and I said, "Hey, maybe we should have a glass of wine and talk about cool wines and stocks and trades of the day." So here we are, full circle. I didn't do Bordeaux this year. I did Tuscany, the Sangiovese grape. Uh, and so yeah, that's what we got tonight.
Very nice. We're keeping on brand as I always would with all wine Wednesdays. We have the same wine I had last week. Josh, freaking what is it?
Josh.
Sauvignon Blanc. Let me get out the bottle. But this bottle will not be here next week because it definitely won't be good by then. But it is still good to this day. But definitely next week it won't be as good. I guess
Good old Josh.
slightly start to taste the bitterness, when it gets really bad. But it's good for now. So anyway, so we're drinking, and then actually next week after this, I bought the Josh. Think about the Chardonnay. I bought some other Josh brand. So next week will still be Josh, but it'll be a different one. It won't be Sauvignon Blanc. So, um, anyways, Rohan, that's how I pronounce his name, right? Why did Jack decide to leave Clover? Do you want to answer this one, honey? I think we answered it before in a
Yeah,
webinar
he
publicly.
it's a pretty simple answer. He decided to go get his PhD and put a lot of his focus towards doing that. He likes to be a student, and that's where his focus is going to be while he's still young and wants to do the scholastics and stuff. That's where he wants his focus. He doesn't want to be doing that when he's in his 30s. So
There he goes. For those who don't know, a little backstory on Swarzy. I believe he got his degree in like quantitative finance, if I'm not mistaken.
facts. Masters, I
So
think.
yeah, so he's a smart cookie. And and I remember him saying like probably a year or two ago, around when I first met him, he was like, yeah, I maybe want to get my PhD. And I was like, oh, we got a smart guy over here. And then he obviously didn't pursue that, and now he's actually going to take it seriously. So that's on his way. For those
And
who are in
it's
the chat,
interesting because like it's so hard for me to imagine, and I just come from a different background. I think there's a lot of like doctors in his family, but it would be so hard for me to pick up any other endeavor at this point that's not stock trading. Like I don't see a better way to invest my time where I can pull out the same return other than like just studying the stock market in various different ways.
totally. No, I agree. And again, I don't know what Swartz's plans are to do with his degree, but yeah, some people have asked me. I mean, they haven't asked me in a very long time, but around the time I graduated, they're like, "Oh, would you get your master's?" And I was like, "No." So Absolutely
I
not.
just I just can't. I mean, once you're hooked to trading, it's like there are a few other professions in the world that I think grant you the flexibility, the income if you manage your risk, um, just the flexibility like alone of like, and Kyle and I were kind of talking about this today, where it's like, and this is what I kind of want to tell you specifically, Kyle. First of all, traveling and trading and having that flexibility, it does come with some kind of like you need to have some kind of discipline to what your job is and what you're here to do, which is seize great opportunities, right?
Right.
And so I think like what's interesting is as a trader, like yes, you can have any day off in the world, like in the calendar year. You can have any day off you want. But on the flip side, if there is like an A+ opportunity, it's probably in your best interest to cancel everything for that day and be there for the market. And knowing when that exists and when it's just another ordinary day, right? And being able to decipher between the two.
Right. Um, no, 100%. And it just so to, I guess we're going back. I'm bringing it back to the college area specifically. Um, I remember. I mean, maybe you, and you did for you because you became profitable around the same time, Huddy. Like right when you graduated college, like the year before.
Yeah, the senior year is when I became profitable.
Right. Very similar to me, where I had made $90,000 in 2019, and so at that point, and I still had about another semester of college, and so I knew pretty much with full certainty that I wasn't going to get a job. Right? I was like, okay, I just made $90,000. That's well above any entry level corporate job was going to get me. On top of the fact that I love doing what we're doing here, so it's like I'm not going to get a job. We know this. And then my parents said, I forgot, my parents said something. They saw me stop pretty much attempting any sort of internship or like they knew it, that, and they knew I made $90,000. They had known like, oh wow, he's probably not going to use his degree. And I forget, something happened. Oh yeah, my mom. So my mom says, yeah, Kyle. So since you've been trading this whole time and you now won't be using a degree, like we're gonna have you pay, because I was grateful enough to have my parents pay for the first few years of my college, but they knew now I wasn't going to use the degree that they were paying for. So like, yeah, we're going to make you pay the last like year and a half of your college because that's when you really took trading so seriously beyond anything a degree was going to get you. And I tried to call their bluff. I was like, all right, I'll drop out right now. One semester left. Because I thought, I mean, luckily my college was pretty cheap, so I mean, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But I tried to call their bluff on not paying it, just to see. And then my mom's even smarter, and she goes, "All right, you do that. You pay for all the previous 2.5 years that we paid for." I was like, "Ah, damn, all right, deal." so,
Yeah.
so I paid for the last 3 to 4 semesters, and they paid for the first whatever years or whatever
That's
semesters.
awesome though.
Yeah. So then and then COVID happened, and then I made way more than 90,000 next year, and then we're here. So funny story about that. But yeah, for those who were to get back to the original question, for those who were in the chat room today, Schwartz was pretty active. He nailed TTOO short, I believe. I don't know how much he made or how much size he took, but he showed a chart. It was beautiful. So he was trading today. He was commenting in the room here and there. So he's still there. I just think when school starts for him, he knows he can't have the level of effort and commitment that we give to it because we're not getting our PhD. For those who don't realize it, like, yeah, we trade, but doing what we do to be here on Wine Wednesday, to be making watch lists, to be doing webinars, to being pretty much running the structure of Clover, like it's a big commitment. And so Swarzy knew, like, he's like, I can't do both. So fair enough. What's your favorite part of Europe? He asks us, but I would think it was more towards you because you've been to Europe far more extensively than I have.
It's a hard question to answer. I think it really depends on what you're looking to do. Like, are you looking for a food experience? Are you looking for a beach experience? Are you looking for a party experience? Are you looking for like museums, architecture? Like, there's so much different varieties that would fit someone's taste. But I was at a baby shower this past weekend, and someone had asked me like, "Hey, I see you travel a lot. Like, I see you travel a lot. Like, what do you think me and my husband should do for our honeymoon?" And my response to them after asking them the specific question of what are you looking to get out of it? That's always my lead up question. And I told them I would start maybe in Saint Tropez. I would fly into Italy for a bit. And then if I'm looking to have some fun, I would hit either Ibiza or Mykonos for like a 10-day trip. And I think that's like calm beach, great food, a little bit of a party. You get that done in like 10 to 14 days, and it's a great trip.
I like that. That's a good idea. I've
Yeah.
only been in terms of Europe. I've only been, or not even Europe, but not out of America. I've been to a lot of Southern America, South America. But in terms of
I've never done South America.
really, I feel like
Yeah.
yes, you have. You've been to Mexico,
That's Central America.
Central, but you're talking like you're talking like I
I'm
guess
talking
that
about South America,
yeah. Sorry,
the
sorry. I guess
continent.
technically if we're talking South. Yeah, I guess I'm more Central. It's still actually it's technically North America, Mexico. So you're right. I'm off. I'm talking about below the border of America, right? more so than
Central.
more so than Europe. But in terms of Europe, I've only been to Italy and Dubai. Dubai, though, I would. I mean, I've gone to Italy twice. I went back in May, so I could go back there, but I probably would rather see somewhere else first, just because I saw everywhere that I could for 14 days. But Dubai, me and Huddy went together with Sykes. What was that? 2021.
God, on just the biggest high of life.
Yeah, April, right? I think it was, and
Yeah.
I would just love to go back. It was such a sick city. Um, it was like Vegas on steroids, but like with class. You know, you didn't get like the drunk people walking everywhere, or the class acts in the street. You just had like classy, high-end buildings, malls, just every fancy car you could think of on the street, everywhere. It was really,
Dubai
really
is
sick.
like New York and Miami had a baby, and then you get Dubai.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So, a bit of housekeeping to clean up. We are, Kyle, if you didn't know, we are
Hmm.
8 days away, maybe 9 days away from the boot camp in Boston,
We
happening
are.
on August 25th. What are you thinking?
I actually was just gonna check that. I can see how much. I think we have like 2 or 3 spots left for VIP. I think we have a little bit more for regular seats, but the VIP probably will be gone very soon. But yeah,
And here's one of the best parts about the boot camp, like stocks like TTOO, which we're going to get into today. Me and Kyle and I will have some kind of discourse about it, and some of the other sympathy plays within the sector. Like that's the stuff we're going to be able to get into a lot of detail at the conference, like exactly what our bread and butter patterns are, the minutia of how to trade them, and where our entries are and why they're there. TTOO being one of those exemplary A+ patterns,
amazing today.
whether you're nailing the breakout yesterday or even 2 weeks ago, and then you're adding to the situation by nailing the first red day or the panic, and we'll get into all that. Just an awesome ticker if you're in small cap, and if you're not watching TTOO or one of these heavily traded tickers in small cap, I kind of asking you why, like why are you not looking at them, right? Like they're in my opinion, when you're trading small cap, like this is kind of the stuff
Yeah, you should gravitate towards.
that yeah, you should gravitate towards trying to understand, right? I'm not telling you to take one side, long or short, do whatever you want, but where this volatility is and these multi-day runs and this liquidity, like that's where you can really move the needle in small accounts relative to like the stuff that doesn't trade any volume or just has like a nice chart, but like there's no interest, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you, I don't even know what else was moving today in small cap. Like, who was there any gappers? I mean, we did one win or we did pre-market prep today, but we went over watch list more so than gappers. I mean, I don't even remember or recall anyone else trading anything else really. If you didn't trade TTOO or some of the other small priced runners, like I don't really. I mean, again, maybe that's all I was trading. So I was in that little, this little box over here of the market, the big bad market, right? And there's all this other stuff going on. Like you could have traded hundreds of thousands of other stocks, but in terms of momentum, small caps, I think that was where the action was today.
Yeah.
Almost a
Uh,
mirror image of TRKA, just back in what February or March this year.
Very similar.
It was like identical in the morning.
So TTOO, what's been interesting about the I almost call them OTCs, about these cheaper stocks is they have been trading very similar to what you would imagine OTCs like price action wise. It was very similar, especially with like the panics and the consolidation phases. Forgot where I was going with that. Damn.
I got excited, I lost train of thought.
Yeah.
But it's created this whole like TTO was clearly like the leader, and then we had all these NVOS, EBET, We've got TIVC, which I am currently long overnight. So we'll see how that goes. But after hours, it looks really good. But yeah, it's just a hot little place here and there.
We can get into it just a bit here. I used to call this pattern, by the way, that you see today, I used to call it the triple dip, where the ideal version of my life would be shorting the red green move, usually on an OTC stock that was like a multi-day runner. I would want to short in or around red green if it was set up correctly, cover into a massive panic, or it was either cover into the massive panic, and in best case scenarios, if I wasn't short, if I was short, doesn't matter actually. I would want to get long as well as I'm covering, sell the long into the bounce towards red green, and then reshort red green. Like that is like the ideal for and it doesn't happen very often that you get a stock that sets up in such a way. You mean you need a really good runner in the first place.
Right.
And that is literally how I made my first six figures. Like that was it was that pattern in the marijuana sector when we had volatility in 2017 that I was able to absolutely kill it on because you get like 3 plays in just one day. So like the risk to reward that you're getting from just 24 hours of trading, like accounts would move, right? Especially if you had the buying power to do it and you weren't locked for any reason. So it's just amazing. I didn't do really well on the TTO short today. So I'm a little frustrated about it. I really wanted it to go higher, just me personally. I was like kind of excited for the prospects of it going towards $1, and it still might. But it decided to have like, that pullback after that euphoric move yesterday. I know, Kyle, you did really well in the initial plunge.
Yeah, and I remember coming into the chat in the morning and seeing Kellogg already shorting it pre-market, and my initial reaction was like, "This bearish mother effer! Like this guy is gonna ruin my day because I'm still long and he's short." Not really. Like it's a joke because we both can make money on both sides. But I was coming into the day of like, I mean, I was open to shorting it, but not at 70. I wanted this to kind of have a magnet towards a buck, at least to like 80, 90 cents, at least sell my long there. So that's what I wanted. But then I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, not that like Kellogg is the magic 8 ball, right? Whatever he says goes, because he could be wrong plenty of times, and he is. But when he said that, I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? There's a chance, right? There's a shot here that this actually does die, and I need to be prepared for both sides either way. And that's what I did. So the moment TTO started looking weak after the market opened and topping out at 70, I ended up selling my long and then immediately getting short right when I sold it. And then my goal was pretty much mid 50s. I thought maybe if it was going to be stronger than I expected, okay, it would go to like red green and then just chop around all day and maybe go higher later. Conservative mid, or so that was like the most conservative. Midway it would be like, oh, it's gonna go to like the mid 50s and then just chop around again. The lowest possibility was like, okay, it's probably gonna go sub 50. But again, that was like the least likely scenario in my brain because I just didn't see it playing out like TRKA. I mean, I had the opportunity, like I had the small percentage in my brain that it could do that, but TRKA I feel like was so much more extended. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think TRK was like up.
I don't know. I mean, they're both like to the same level. I mean, like TRKA kind of started at the 12-cent area, but also had like a hiccup in the 30s before extending to a buck. But like TTOO did start in the 12s area. Had a hiccup in the 30s before extending to 70.
Well, right.
So I mean,
and that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, it was still low price when it started, but it pretty much had it was like a 1 or 2 day hiccup, right? It wasn't this week and a half consolidation like we saw with TTO. I mean, TTO maybe have started from 10 cents, but it went to 45, consolidated for 7-8 days, and then did it again. So I was like, I just didn't see it. But once it happened, I mean, I had all covered by like 54, maybe I remember correctly. And then 3 or 4 minutes later, I see it down at 41, and I'm like, oh crap, like this is happening. Here we go. And so I think Kellogg might have been the only person who stayed short for that. Unless I know there are people out there existed, they just maybe didn't share their chart that I saw. But Kellogg nailed it. I think he was the biggest winner from that today.
did he cover at 40?
He definitely covered. I don't know if he got long or not. I would imagine he did, but I know he definitely had like 2/3 left. He only covered a third, like in the 50s, and then had 2/3 left, and then I think just scaled out into the bottom.
The most beautiful thing is like from your execution, from what you did today, it's like not only are you locking in a giant overnight gain from your long, I mean, percentage wise, it had to be decent at least. I mean, in the above average category.
Right.
And then immediately you're flipping short to retrace the whole freaking move
Oof.
in like 10 minutes on the short side. And that was what was so cool about this ticker today. Like when it gets volatile like that, like I missed the initial red green plunge. I didn't short it in the morning. But then when it got down to 40 cents in the manner that it did, knowing that the breakout level was, let's just call it, it was, you call it 40, 45, the move started at 35. We're right back into that range within like the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of market open. It's like former resistance now becoming support. Like that breakout level should hold. Like unless there's something terribly dilutive going on behind the scenes, like this thing should have a naturally occurring bounce. Stocks don't just go straight down or straight up. They pull, they consolidate, they choose the next direction, right? Nothing just goes straight to zero. I mean, it's very rare that happens. So the panic dip buy was pretty sick.
Oh, it was great. I'm at a minimum, and for those who know panic dip buys, you know that had a bunch of volume exhaustion at the bottom there. Like if you look at the bottom, for those who have the charts up, if you look at like the bottom minute of TTOO, what did it trade like 10 million shares in 1 minute? Huge. I think it was the biggest volume candle of the day. And when you see something like that, like it doesn't confirm it's the bottom, but it's a pretty good chance at that point. It's vice versa for the top. Like if you see a stock spiking huge and you see like one volume candle come out of nowhere and like a parabolic have the biggest candle of volume out of all candles in the previous day. Again, it's not a foolproof thing, but usually that's a sign of like a lot of people just change shares between each other. A lot of buyers came in, a lot of shorts got squeezed, or a lot of shorts covered. Like whether it's a long or a short, or a panic or a parabolic, like it's just a sign that like shares just massively changed hands between one accounts to the other, right? And it's usually the sign of a top or a bottom. So,
And then from the panic dip buy, from the 40 cent area, the stock proceeds to bounce right back to 58, which is where it closed at yesterday. And like one of the more insane things in my mind that's going on in that moment is, had you bought the breakout yesterday and felt like a hero at 45 and made it to 60 with your position, which is like a pretty damn decent trade if you were able to do that. And that takes like a whole,
yeah, took
pretty much
hours.
a whole day of patience,
yeah,
right? Which is like, it didn't break any higher lows. Like I'm not saying it was hard to hold through that, but it's still hard to hold on to position for 5 hours and like be meticulous about a 60 exit. And then today, off the panic to 40, within like an hour and a half, we're back at 58. Like you could have captured the whole breakout
range.
move. Yeah, right. And just like such a smaller time frame. That's the part that kind of blows my mind. So like the amount of opportunity on TTOO alone from the multi-day breakout into the first red day, into the panic dip buy, into the bounce short, and then we'll see what it brings tomorrow. Like that move, that is exactly what moves accounts. Like when you have that much frequency of opportunity, and then the cycles and the patterns, and you can capitalize on those moments. Like it's incredible, like to see that. Let alone the sympathy plays, by the way. We haven't even started talking about those yet.
Yeah, pretty cool. Today I looked at my spreadsheet, and today was the biggest day since June for me. So quite the not monumental day, but like and again I wasn't even that big. I made 27K today, which again is great. Like don't get me wrong. But in terms of my best days, that's nothing in comparison. But again, in summer trading, my last best day was in June, and it was like 30 something grand. So to have that kind of come out of nowhere with, again, like how you said, selling the long and then immediately flipping short and pretty much I made just under 15K on both trades. I think like 13K in the long, 15K on the short. So yeah, just pretty sweet.
And do you think like when you sell that long, like, and I was having actually a conversation with my girlfriend's brother about this, like when you sell that long, are you like vividly thinking, okay, I just locked in 15K like that I didn't have yesterday? How much money do I have to risk on this, first red day setup as it's going down? Like, are you thinking that? Because I think having cushion, I mean, it could be double-sided for sure, but having some kind of cushion built in, and I think this is what Jack does a lot, where he like, specifically shorted in the pre-market, covered the first dip for like an 8 cent share gain, and then when it bounced back to 70, he was able to take that same risk, but it was almost like risk-free, given that he already locked in some gains.
Right. Yes and no. I would say I did that, but only because I didn't do it in, how do I say this? I didn't do it in size. I did it in average. So like, for example, the top of the spike in the morning was 70 cents. Came down to 64. I sold my long and I immediately got short. I just flipped right away. And I remember thinking, had I not been short, or had I not been long, I probably would have started in short sooner. Like had I been like Kellogg and gone into today with a short bias and having a little bit more confidence that this thing probably doesn't get over the pre-market highs, which was like what, 73, 74-ish. And then we top out at 70, that would have been like some kind of confirmation for me. Like, okay, we're actually weaker and we're actually topping out. And I probably would have started getting short in like 67, 68, maybe 69, best case. So getting short there versus 64 is quite the difference in risk reward of like range risking. So when I got short, I'm like, God, I'm short from 64. I'd have to cut it 70. Like I really am not a fan of risking 6 cents on a $70 or 70-cent stock, right? It's like what, 8-9%. I'm like, it's not great, because I also knew if I'm covering
Yeah, but looking back at the reward, it's fantastic.
well, right. But in my head, I don't know this is going to 40. In my head, I'm like, okay, maybe I make it to like the mid 50s. So I'm like, okay, I risk 6 cents to make 10 cents. I'm like, it's like barely 2 to 1. So the reason why I stayed comfortable with it was because I had locked in profits, right? So like the profits I made from the long allowed me to still get short and not feel like I was taking too big of a loss or risking too wide of a loss had I stopped out, right? Because vice versa, had I locked in the long quicker, say like I sold into like the morning spike in like 68, 69, and then it topped out at 70 and I'm out of my long, and then it pulls back and then I start shorting 67, 68, I probably would have been a much bigger size and it would have been a much tighter risk for pretty much probably the same dollar risk, but much bigger size. And I would have probably felt more comfortable doing it because I locked in profits. But again, that lower entry kept me comfortable because had I not locked in profits on the long side, I either probably would have been much smaller on the short, or just missed it. Just felt like the risk score was off. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable shorting down here. I don't have any cushion, like you said, and I could have seen myself missing it had I not had that cushion for sure.
What an amazing play. I mean, again, just like the opportunity that was there for the past 2 days, and not even like, I don't know how much we want to get into it, but like eBet and NVOS, like your classic sympathy plays, not in the definition of like they're similar industries, but, and I haven't really done that much research, but they're just similar charts trading massive volume at a similar price range, which is like, if you guys don't know about sympathy plays, like oftentimes when you have a really big runner on big volume and when it gets extended and day traders can no longer feel comfortable buying that stock, they go look for something that resembles that stock, and the flock kind of moves. It's like hot potato, like passes to the next ticker. And so eBet and NVOS were the two big volume cheap tickers with like somewhat, interesting charts. I wouldn't say I was in love with either of them. I mean, eBet definitely more than NVOS, but they both still caught. And it just kind of shows you how chasey the market really was. I mean, people wanted to be involved in these tickers.
Right. Well, I just thought of this as you were explaining that. This is probably how most market cycles go. And by cycle, I just mean a quick momentum change of the small caps that we trade, which is, when nothing's moving, no one wants to be that first step in, right? No one wants to put their money at risk to be that guy to buy early and then create some kind of momentum and then get more people to buy. Like, and again, it's not like one person's buying and then telling everyone else to buy, and then it's like sometimes it's news based to get people in. Sometimes there's algos behind. Sometimes we always kind of have that conspiracy theory that there's like some fund that likes to conjure up these moves, right? But when it's slow, no one wants to put that money at risk. They don't want to be the first guy in the building, right? Or the first guy in the ocean, or the pool, the shark invested pool to lose money, or lose their leg in this analogy. But once you get one happening, like TTOO, once you get one and then everyone piles in to make money, now everyone has a cushion, right? Everyone's got willingness, a risk appetite. And then like you said, Huddy, they see something similar in characteristics, whether in this case it be just a lower price ticker. And again, 2 weeks ago, no one would have wanted to touch it because no one has cushion, no one has that risk appetite. But because they just made X amount of money, they're like, oh, I can touch this one. I feel good about myself. I
Yeah.
just made X money. So it's like this rolling period. And I think these cycles stop because eventually they all die, and whoever got caught still staying long lost money, and it's like a shift. Like people make money, and then some people give it back, and they make money. It's like you almost can see it in the stock price. And again, the more stocks that go up, I think then the more other stocks go up. But eventually, some kind of shift happens, and then people go the crowd, if you want to call it, it goes from making money to losing money, which then is literally the shift of a sector being hot and frothy versus literally all fading off and just dying. If that makes sense.
Hang on.
There you go. Fixing the camera. But yeah, that's I just like literally thought of that as you were saying that. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Forget us having cushion. How about the entire crowd of the market in general? So question for you, Adi. How closely do you follow the macro environment? Inflation rates, QE. Do you think breakouts work due to rate increases or decreases?
No, it's not something that I tracked. That's where I want to like pretty much start that answer. Like maybe there is a correlation. I'm not saying there isn't. I think that all of that does matter to some extent. For example, like the moves that we were seeing during the pandemic, which were continuous multi-day runners, were able to do that because there was so much money freely available for whoever was running the show or for retail to get involved. Like there was a lot of cheap money out there, which allowed for a lot of liquidity and a lot of demand. And then when the reverse started happening, that's when we started to see less multi-day runners. The market couldn't hold its footing, et cetera, et cetera. And we had like a year and a half of like pretty much nothing. And now we're like somewhere in between of like, okay, things are getting better, but things aren't necessarily fixed. And it seems like we are in 2023 having, more multi-day runs, although not much getting past day two. I mean, we've seen day two in Mullen and KLA, TTOO, like they've all failed. Whereas like in the pandemic, like they could have been at 250 by open, like it was insane.
Right.
So I think it all does have an effect, but I feel like for a day trader, you just kind of take the patterns as they come and go. And I think there are better market environments for breakouts to work. But do I have it pinpointed to the exact minutia of what the criteria is for macro events to line up for breakouts to work? No, but like, for instance, when the Qs started uptrending and we started to get like bullish narratives in the markets, like I do think that helped sentiment with the breakouts and in the first place, people willing to just put money down and play stocks again because you actually had uptrend in a macro sense, and that invites players back into the market. No one wants to buy stocks when the whole thing's going down. That's when like fear's in. So it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't watch it too closely, but I'll keep an eye on it. But it's not going to drastically change my decision when I'm trading something. Yeah, you nailed it, Ned. I'm not going to reiterate anymore. That's pretty much a good answer. It's a great answer there. I feel like someone else asked a separate question. Oh, Kruger asked, do you guys like working out? I'm assuming at the gym, which I would answer yes. I enjoy it, especially if you have a really tough trading day and you just need to get rid of some stress or some frustration, lifting some weights, picking heavy things up, putting them down.
I think it's mandatory almost as a trader for a number of reasons. Number one, what Kyle just said, like if you have a frustrating day on the market, like usually the best reaction is to go straight to the gym and just like listen to some music, watch whatever's on the TV and just like think. I mean, it's the same thing as going for a walk. I mean, if you don't want to go to the gym, go for a walk, but like stimulating that part of your brain, I think is really good to help with like reflection processes. A. B. I go to the gym almost every morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time, and I get back by like 8:15, 8:30. Because I think that like puts me in a situation to be able to go to war, be able to be instinctively like doing things based off muscle memory and like quick instinctive reaction skills. I'd like to not be rolling out of bed and then having to do that with like, a coffee and some warm fluffy eggs. Like I'd rather have gone to the gym, put myself through some kind of like workout load, and then and have a plan for the workout, and then come back and then plan for the day. Like things just start to work well. And then when I lived on the Pacific Coast, I wouldn't go to the gym in the morning because that was, I think, insanity. But going to the gym midday saved me, I think, from a lot of trades. Like just being able to like get up at like that 9, 10 o'clock hour Pacific Standard and go to the gym for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours, eat some lunch and come back for close. Um, like that dead hour is like crucial to miss. And like it's hard on the West Coast because that's when like everyone's at work, like going to work, right? Like
Right.
there's nothing to do except go to the gym,
Yeah, I agree with
right?
all that. Yeah, yeah. Um, and I think maybe this gets too out of detail here, but like I just think how you beyond working out, right? How you usually handle your outside life, like outside of trading, is probably going to have a trickle effect into how you should have your life in trading. Like general, like if you don't go to the gym and you're lazy, you probably might be lazy in, I don't know, cutting losses or I mean anything, right? Not disciplined in following your trade plan, not being disciplined doing the things you have to do, like going to the gym or eating healthy or doing whatever you set out to do. And so, it's going to trickle down. So going to the gym, staying in good shape or a good mental and physical shape, I think is huge. So, anyways,
Yeah, I always say you have to have your mind, body, and soul right. Like you have to be in a good place within yourself in order to be able to seize opportunity. And I'm just talking about opportunity in the stock market, like opportunity in relationships, opportunity in the stock market. Opportunity is like always surrounding you. But if you're someone that is being lazy, eating unhealthy, like not taking care of themselves, maybe you don't shower, I don't know what it is. When opportunity comes knocking, if you're not in like a heightened state of mind in that moment, then you're not going to be able to perform. It's just like simple mathematics here. So taking care of yourself, taking care of your loved ones, taking care of your relationships, like all of that is going to put you in a better state, physiology and psychology wise. And then when opportunity comes knocking, like maybe you have an extra bit of confidence that day, right? And you do the things that you don't want to do. You take the extra risk because you think it's necessary and it's a good setup. And all of a sudden you feel like you're the smartest guy in the world, right? Or the stupidest. It could go both ways, but at least you confidently did it.
right, right, I agree. Um, let's see the comments here. Greatest sympathies in my career where the DWAC ones were good and the same CEO, the good old days, PHUN. That was a good one. That was a good one when DWAC and Fun went. I mean, what? DWAC went from 10 to what, 90, 70, and Fun went from 2 to like 20, if I'm not mistaken. Just
Yeah, those
insane.
were tough for me to long though. I remember them back. I only shorted them. I didn't buy either of them. God, would it have been great to buy Fun? Like what was it, like a buck 50, got to 20?
Yeah.
God, wow.
Yeah, that would
That's
have been nuts.
insane.
Or the
Good times.
oil stocks, right? I don't even remember them. INDO
INDO,
and then
INPP, cool
IMPP.
stuff.
Those two. There was two more. There was HUSA, and I think there was one more that I forget.
ENSV.
Which one? What was the ticker?
ENSV and Servio.
ENSV. So yeah, they happen every now and then. There's little pockets, little areas of just opportunity, and then I think today we saw one for sure.
And what's so cool is I feel like it was just last week, where like last week was an absolute dud of a week, aside from WeWork, which I had a good time with for 2 days, like Thursday and Friday last week. Uh, Aside from that volatility and that, again, like big percent gain, big volume, lots of action. Like that's the kind of stuff we're looking for in small cap, or at least have eyes and figure out getting where you fit in and start making some memories. That's what I used to always say, right? Um, so aside from WeWork last week for those 2 days, like maybe there was something else, but like the week was for the most part like really, really quiet. And now looking back, it was almost like the quiet before the storm,
Right.
because then we barrel into this week. And like the best part about it was like all last week it was like the watch list pretty much said there's like a bunch of tickers that I don't really want to trade. We don't want to trade whatever whoever is giving out the watch list in Clover that night. Um, but TTOO is still there. Like that was like the silver lining of last week. Like this is all like crap. But what is not crap is what TTOO is doing right now.
Right, right.
And then we were just like blissfully rewarded on Monday. I remember Dom was like going on vacation Monday morning. I was talking to him in the morning. I was like, "Yo, by the way, like TTOO might be as soon as Monday. Like that might be the start of it. Like if it's sideways into close, like you better have eyes on it, even if you're on vacation. Like that is something you cannot miss."
Right.
Uh,
And then he missed it. Right? Did he even trade it?
and then he
Did
missed it.
And then he missed it.
He missed it. It's so cool when you get to this point of your career, and it's like it's almost like we have a crystal ball. We don't. We're wrong a lot, like a lot. Not like that much, but enough. Where it's disheartening sometimes. Uh, but to be able to like pretty much like this first red day on TTOO and even the breakout day yesterday, like you could literally draw that out on a piece of paper, and it's like you could see these patterns repeat themselves so many times, right?
Right. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful breakout. It's one of the ones where we were saying the other day too, where it literally, like some breakouts are hard, and some just work exactly like they're supposed to. Like TTO, you bought the breakout at 45, 30 minutes into the open yesterday.
You were never down.
You were never down. You just the breakout just worked from the beginning.
You were never down.
Yeah. Like it's good that you have a risk level like any good trade, but it's like you didn't even need to think about it. You know.
You're still not down. I mean,
Yeah.
you were down at one point today, but for a split second, you could have just like slept in and not have noticed.
Right. So quite crazy, quite impressive. Kyle, when you get long for TIVC, what was the reason you went long? So, I mean, we've pretty much answered that question, but I'll say it in a different way so you get it. TTO was running, right? Super hot, super awesome. We get all these other sympathies. Like we talked about, DWAC and Fun back in, 2021, 2022, whatever. You could have weed stocks, you could have low floats, you could have car stocks, electric vehicles, you could have crypto. You get a sector, right? And in this case, TTO being a low price stock starting from 12 cents now at 60 cents, you get all these other stocks who are 5, 10, 15 cents, 5 cents, 2 cents running as well. So why did I buy TIVC? It literally, two reasons. It was worth 6 cents and it had a bunch of volume. That was literally it. Because I knew the trend right now is buying these hot stocks that are low price. Again, they have to have a lot of volume. Again, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of stocks that are worth 5 cents right now. But it's finding the ones that people are having their eyes on, and that are following, and that they're kind of attributing to all of them being part of this, call it sector. When really none of the companies are related. They're just the characteristics of their stocks are similar, which is they're low price and they have a lot of volume. So that's that's literally it. I wish I could tell you like some advanced thesis onto why TAVC has a fundamental reason it's coming, but I don't even know the company's name. I just know it's TIVC. So very simple for me.
I will say for sympathy plays, I like the cleaner share structures more than others. So like if you look at like the market cap of TIVC or like the dilution, like that's a big green flag for me, like right off the bat. Secondly, like look at NVOS, like it's the exact same thing as TIVC today. I mean, it's similar where it's like you have this ticker trading record high volume, trading in a tight range throughout the day. You can risk a penny or two. And if the market is as frothy as it is, which TIVC right now is proving that it still is, like it's going to get chased, right?
Right.
And that's a gamble that, Kyle's willing to take. And I took it on NVOS and eBet halfway. I sold it after, but whatever. I don't want to cry over spilled milk. But it's the same idea as NVOS and eBet yesterday, where it's like these are 3-cent tickers trading hundreds of millions of shares and 12-cent tickers trading 100, and then they gapped up huge, had a spike, and then did their thing. They were just volatile because of the price range. So it's all kind of correlated in that sense, where it's like big volume, small price range. The difference is WeWork, and I don't have stats to really back this up, but this was my whole I think the reason WeWork failed so miserably, it's bankruptcy, right? So these tickers aren't necessarily bankrupt. This isn't like the same as like the AMRSs or WeWork, or what was the other one that was?
I forget, but there was one. Well, the YELL, but that's the
Yeah,
ones.
YELL.
Yeah,
Like
but those
those
ones
are
are
like
closed. But
those stickers are releasing like, oh my God, we're going bankrupt, and then the stock spikes 150%. Okay, like that might not be your cup of tea, and like that is not what this is. Like these tickers aren't really releasing necessarily that kind of news. They're just gaining momentum because of their price range and their volume, and then like the day traders are flocking, right?
right,
Um, yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit different there. Um, but anyways, yeah, that's as simple as that for me. I guess the only other thing would be the why I bought it is too is, I mean, price, volume, but then also like Huddy said, it was one that hadn't made its move yet per se. Like what it's doing today is what NVOS and eBet did yesterday, right? So if I'm going to follow that trend, follow that theme, I'm like, okay, well, this looked just like these yesterday, and both these went up another 50 to 100% the next day. It's like, why can't, you know, TIVC do the same thing? So again, we'll see. It doesn't have to, but it could.
And I will say, like, sector momentum is like one of the best catalysts that you can have. Like, it's strong. Like when there's a sector here, like I don't know, like those are always the best moves, like short or long.
Right. That is the best news, right? Is sector, and there is no news. That's the best part about it. There's no news. It's just sector momentum.
Dude, 7-4 after hours is sick, by the way. I'm very jealous of you right now.
OTIVC.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, like yeah. Oh yeah. We'll see. Hopefully, I mean, if I can make it 10 cents, that'd be pretty sick. That would be about round expectations of what NVI and NVOS did and eBet. Both did more than that really. NVOS did up like 100%, which is crazy. I don't really expect that from TAVC, but we'll see. Um, last couple
But
questions.
what I was saying with like WeWork, one of the main differences was like the share count on WeWork that I recognized. Like it had 2.1 billion shares outstanding, and like
Yeah, it's a lot.
stocks can move. I don't know how to phrase this, but stocks can move. Like obviously, like WeWork was up 150% from what, like 14 to 30 in a day. So obviously they can move, but when you have 2.1 billion shares outstanding, and I don't know how much is restricted and how much isn't, but like you've done a lot of work to get your stock to like the shares outstanding that is a very unhealthy range for a stock to be trading. Like it's not the same float rotation when you're dealing with that kind of shares outstanding as you are with like a stock like TIVC or TTOO or eBet. Um, it's just a different magnitude of like ratio.
Right. Yeah. And those little details matter, right? And that comes with experience and seeing those things like very quickly. Like me and you, how do you could do it in less than a minute? But to a beginner, that it takes experience to have to get that going, get that repetition and experience to see that very quickly, or it's quicker, I should say, as time goes on.
So TIVC closes at 7-3. Like, duh. Of course that would happen, Kyle.
What's up?
Of course that would happen.
I'm taking
Works
along. It's the trend
perfectly.
right now, baby. I could have been wrong though. I thought I was gonna be wrong for like when after hours started. It sold off from like 6 to 5 ish, like mid sixes to mid fives. I was like, this doesn't look good. I might have had to stop out there, but it worked. Now we're at
The
seven.
same thing yesterday when TTOO like faded off to 56. You're like, bro. And then like 10 minutes later, it was at 70.
Well, I just get so anxious. I hate having to watch after hours action, but I feel like I have to because the last thing I want to do is technically get stopped out in after hours, but have it be lower volume. It's like, does it really matter? Do I care? But it's like I should because you never know which one actually respects that level, and it ends up gapping way down. So I have to take it for its worth of like, hey, it's breaking, you need to just cut it. But after hours is just not fun doing that, but it happens. So. All right, last couple of questions here before we close her out. Kyle, by the way, appreciate your monthly recaps. They really help me study and correct mindset. Great technical breakdowns. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Appreciate it. That's why I do them. They're good for me and then obviously good for the viewers. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Joseph Ma, the legend himself, says, "Hey guys, I struggle with giving up opportunities like the liquidation plays. They hurt me more than the reward. They hurt me more than rewarded me, but I still trade them because I don't want to miss the opportunity. Any tips?" It's a great question because I think all of us at some level feel the exact same way you do, Joseph, with these liquidation plays. And Yeah, it's just a dilemma because I totally know what you mean. I too feel like I need to stop trading them, but I also feel like there's an edge. It just adapting and getting better as they change because they have changed drastically to the point where there might not the same edge is not the same as it was last year as it is this year, which makes me question, do I still need to be trading? Is it even still the same edge? It could be still the same setup, but is the way that it goes that it happens so different that it's not worth it anymore? And the way I would probably picture it is if it gets to the point where now you have no chance of making money because you may feel like, okay, I still need to trade these because I don't want to miss the opportunity. But what's the cost of missing the opportunity? Like it comes to this: do you want to be right or do you want to make money? Right? You could be right and say, oh, I took part in this opportunity. Right? I got to short it. It dropped 80%. I made some money. But then when you look at your P&L and in pursuit of trying to capture that opportunity, you took so many big losses or so many losses up until that point, trying to capture that opportunity, that you actually lost money. So if that's the case, you have to then look at it and be like, yeah, you know what, again, what do you care more about? Nailing the opportunity, being right, or making money? Because if you kept losing enough to the point where once you finally were right, you still didn't, your bottom line wasn't still profitable, then you need to be able to be honest with yourself and be like, it doesn't matter if I make the opportunity. In fact, again, if you had lost money, not trading them at all would actually result in a net gain. You would have kept that money, right? I could say that for RETO this month. Had I not traded RETO, I'd be having a tremendous month. I'd be having a great month. But instead, I'm red on the month because of this one thing, this one little ticker I just haven't been able to give up on. And in most cases, I'm pretty close to giving up. I really don't want to give it any more tries unless it looks amazing, which in this case, the way it's acted, it's done anything but that, right? So that's how I see it. Because had I just not cared about it, I'd be up way more money than I am currently in August. So
Yeah. I always use the candy store analogy where it's like, I like candy, first of all. I like gummies. If I go into like a candy store, like I want to get one of those little clear transparent bags and fill it up with like all these different kinds of candy. And then like I'll go home and like I'll eat every single piece. And I'll have a stomach ache, right? You really have to find what your favorite things are in the market and stick to them. Like facts. Here are just a couple of facts. Like on a setup like TTO today, I make more money on that setup with less money risk and a higher win rate on that setup over everything. Like I don't lose big when I'm wrong, and when I'm right, I get paid huge. And I really like that dynamic. And I could say the same thing for a lot of multi-day breakouts where like when I'm wrong, I lose like 5 to 10%. When I'm right, I can make like 30, 40, 100, right? Like they're great properties. You really have to choose again, like what piece of candy you want to be eating, because again, eating every single one is going to give you a stomach ache. Kyle, to some extent, definitely laptop legend David Hamlin in our chat room as well. They've taken a lot of time to study these things, like every single nuance. I know David Hamlin, like to a like serious degree, has watched tape, has recorded every chart, knows every single market maker, has tricks up his sleeve as to like how to game the system as much as the system can be gamed from a legal standpoint. The amount of hard work that he's done to master that setup reminds like me of like what I've done for first red days, like TTOO, right? And I know in the back of my mind, I don't have that same prowess towards these liquidation plays. Like at some points, like I use David Hamlin because he's made a lot of money off of them. And he's really good with the price action. He's really good with the minute by minute price action. He's really good with the level 2. And that's because he watches it like game film and he can like understand like, okay, are they TWAPing? Are they selling? Like what's really going on here? A lot of those aspects that I don't really have a good read for, right? I'll get to a concluding statement, but just to like pepper this in, like I'm the guy that shorted Clio at 240 on Monday, and then I'm the guy that shorted Rito at 340 or 370 on Tuesday, and they got squeezed to 540. So like pretty much made good money, and then came back and took it right from me the next day, right? Like it was like boom, bomb, gone, easy come, easy go. So my issue with the liquidation plays is like like I have not done nearly enough in-depth under like research to understand like how janky these things can be. B, I'm kind of like asking myself, is the risk worth it at the end of the day? Because like I was stuck in Rito and I had small size. Like I didn't have more than 1,500 shares. Like it was nothing. Like, you know, I ate the loss pretty easily. Um, but just the idea of that being halted into close and how high that could have gapped, like I have never seen a halted ticker go from 370 to a 540 open. And like at one point it was like showing 6. I started to ask myself, like, if this is halted for 3 hours, where is this going to open? Like, how high can this go? Does anything on the chart matter? Right. And the fact that, like, yeah, I had to stop loss it. I had a hard stop, but that didn't matter in that circumstance at all. Like, it didn't trigger my stop before it halted. So, where I'm going to wrap this up is 2 out of my 3 biggest losses in my career come from these liquidation plays. Like, without a doubt, huge losses, way bigger than like anything I've ever had since 2017. 2 of them came this year, and I've had some ginormous wins as well. Like some of my biggest wins have come as well. The problem is the variance between the two. Whereas my biggest gains, yeah, there's like some $55,000 gains, et cetera, $30,000 gains, but there's also some like $40,000 losses. So it's like what my stats are telling me at the end of the day is like on the situations that I can't control, it's 1-to-1 over a huge sample size. And the amount of like risk you take on when these things don't work correctly is absurd. Like it is absolutely absurd because they skip on no volume and halt and do some insane things. So you really have to just look into the mirror and say, like, do I really want to play this setup? And that can be actually more generalized to everyone, not just about the Chinese, like, you know, liquidation plays. And you can almost call like, you know, OTC pump and dumps within the same schematics. But like, I'd rather short an OTC pump and dump. I'd like to learn to some extent what's going on behind the scenes. But with every pattern that exists out there, whether it's like a gapper pattern, a multi-day breakout, a first red day, a bounce short, you really have to find the ones that you're comfortable with, like with the nuances of the pattern, and like, can you control the risk? And can you make it to the reward? Like that is the most simple and basic question you can ask yourself. And for me, like, or for anyone, like you just got to find out what those patterns are. Like, where do you risk the least and make the most, right? And for me, like on liquidation plays, like as much as I'd love to be like Kyle, like David Hamlin, who do great on these pump and dump type schemes, these are where my evidence shows like the biggest losses come from. Also big wins, but really big losses as well. And the question is, do I want those big losses? I can get the same dollar size wins on a first red day. I can do that on TTOO and lose very small, if anything, not lose at all. But when I'm losing on like a liquidation play, I'm losing big. Like I'm losing a lot if my stop doesn't trigger, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
such a volatile
that.
thing. There's no really easy way out. You either win big, you lose big, is what I've learned, not just for myself, but from Huddy, from anyone who's traded it. It's usually how it goes for most people. And so I think Huddy nailed it on the head there. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Very amazing episode here with Huddy and I holding it down. Nemo asks, is there a wine Wednesday next week? Absolutely. I don't think there'd be a wine win. There might not be a wine Wednesday on the week of the boot camp just because there's a lot of it going on. Be a very busy week for us. But if you are going to boot camp, which you are, Nemo, congrats for buying a ticket. We're excited to have you. Excited to see you. Talk to you in person. Again, if you guys haven't bought a boot camp, you guys have, like Huddy said, 8 days. 8 to 9 days till the event starts. We're very excited. Second in-person event. So anyways, hope to see you guys there. If not, hope to see you guys in the next one. And we will see you guys next time. Peace, everybody.